What's up, y'all? I am back for another video. Today, I was gonna review Spy Kids, but then I thought, I'm not gonna do a whole video on that shit. I'll just really quick. It basically, they just, it kind of like the first movie, the parents are spies and the kids find out, and, well, I didn't want to do a whole video on it, if I'm just being honest, so that's why I decided um, to not review it was because I didn't feel like doing a whole video on it. I just like fuck it. Instead of doing a whole video on that. It wasn't and it wasn't even bad in that way where it was almost entertaining bad to where it was worth talking about. So just really quick, it was a pile of shit. So now that's out the way. Today, I am gonna continue on with my list series. Sorry I didn't do it last week. Today, I am doing we are in 2002. And my God, the amount of movies. There's so many movies I had to leave out. I didn't want to make this video really long. I left out Chamber of Secrets, which that's my favorite Harry Potter, of those originals. I love that movie, but because I don't watch it all the time, I had to include movies I watch actively. Even some of the lore entries on here I watch, you know. So that's why I didn't include it. Episode 2 came out, but that was always my least favorite of the original 6 Star Wars movies, so I just didn't put it on there. So yeah. But I guess before I go into that, tomorrow I am gonna be doing I'm not doing a review. I'm gonna be doing I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I figured now that I'm done with the Bond movies, why not do a Bond pitch of my own. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Wednesday, either gonna do, because there's been the recent Halloween news that apparently Miramax, because of the disaster that was Halloween Ends, that they're gonna shop around the IP and basically try to see who wants to get it. So I might talk about that since I'm a Halloween fan. Either I'm gonna do that or I'm gonna do an Expendables 4 pitch. I'm most likely gonna actually do that one, and then I'll do that video later in the week. Maybe I'll do that video on the weekend if I don't do, because I kind of want to do that Expendables pitch just because how bad that movie was. There really was no reason for it to be bad, so I figured why not do a pitch about it. So I'm most likely gonna actually do that video. Then Thursday, because I did say Wednesday. Yeah, I said Wednesday. So Thursday, I am gonna be doing The Conjuring, watching that for the first time. So I'm gonna be starting that, and I'm gonna figure out the timeline and all that. But I'm gonna try to mainly just for right now do the original Conjuring movies with the main cast, and then eventually, I know there's a bunch of spin-offs. So, yeah, so I have a lot probably with that franchise alone. Then Friday, for sure, going to be doing X2, X-Men United. Then Saturday, like I said, if I don't end up doing that Halloween video on Wednesday, I'll probably do it on Saturday. And then Sunday, since I don't think I have to review anything, because I don't think I'm going to review Saw. I might, talk about it in a video, but I don't know if I'm going to do a whole review on it until, maybe because I'm going to eventually will do the Saw franchise. I just because the amount of movies, I'm just a little dreading it right now, so. But I'll still talk about it in a video, so Sunday, I might most likely just do, I think, friend Mars found me, there's an article out there of Screen Rant, even though I did technically a similar video, but why not? I'll fucking roast it, since I watched The Continental, that they can basically do John Wick without Keanu Reeves. So I'll probably do that on Sunday. But, man, this list was pretty fun to make. 2002 was just such a good year. The amount of movies there were. So, number 13. Number 13 is The Tuxedo. This movie, yeah, it's not one of Jackie Chan's best. I would not put this up with like Rush Hour, even like the Shanghai Noon movies, because this kind of came out after those. This was like, let's put Jackie Chan with somebody. And this movie was with Jennifer Love Hewitt, which I'll admit that's part of the reason I watched it, was because she was in it. So, like, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Jackie Chan. So that was like interesting pairing, and see if it, hold on. Sorry, guys. She, I thought she was pretty fun. Like, because he poses as Devlin, who's this like agent, which Jason Isaacs character, who Jason Isaacs and anything. It's interesting in this, he's a good guy. It is kind of weird to see him as a good guy, especially after when you know him as Tavington and in The Patriot. But he is such a fun little movie. Like Jackie Chan has fun with, like, even in a movie like this, he takes his stunts seriously, because basically the premise is the suit that Devlin has is basically this high powered suit that basically gives you enhanced fighting abilities. And yeah, the villain isn't really nothing to write home about. It's a fun little movie. Came out in early 2000s. This was that Jackie Chan just hype, when he was everywhere in like every movie. But Jennifer Love Hewitt, I thought Jennifer Love Hewitt and him had pretty fun little chemistry. I remember reviewing it a couple years ago, and it still holds up. Yeah, it's not one of his best, but I fucking love it. So I had to put this on the list. So, I mean, of course, I had to put it a little lower, but I had fun with this movie. So that's my number 13. Number 12 is Eight-Legged Freaks. And this is an interesting one, because this movie was like, yeah, it basically was like, I look at it as almost definitely almost an homage to Tremors, because it has that kind of same feel, small town, even though they do explain where the creatures came from, because in Tremors they don't, they just kind of are there. But I do like this movie. I remember watching this on the Sci-Fi Channel, and just it but yeah, like, this movie, yeah, like, the effects aren't great, and it's kind of in the same line as fucking um The Tuxedo. It's very dumb fun. It's not necessarily objectively great, but I always have fun with it. I like the soundtrack. Um, you have these kind of quirky group of characters. You have like the sheriff mom. The main kid who's her son, and then you have a young Scarlett Johansson who's in this, who's her daughter. You have uh David Arquette, who's like basically the love interest, her like ex-boyfriend. They eventually get back together. You have like this DJ character. Like, it's like these fun group of characters. They're, these giant, this chemical spill happens, giant spiders show up, and that scene where the spiders just kind of go wreak havoc is fucking fun. I just love it. And I think I remember watching this the first time, just had fun with it. Like, yeah, the effects don't look great. Like, some of those spiders look pretty shit, but it's a fun little dumb fun schlock spider movie, killer animal movie of that era. It's all it needed to be. You had fun characters. It very much, it's not as good as Tremors, but you could tell it was going for that kind of movie. And I thought for the most part they did a good job with it. So I had to put this on the list. I watch this one a lot, especially if I'm just like, in a dumb kind of killer animal movie, something I'll watch Tremors and then maybe watch this afterwards, or vice versa, So that's my number 12. Number 11 is Friday After Next. To me, this is my second favorite Friday. I don't really like Next Friday. I'm just gonna be honest. I think there's funny bits in it, but I think the plot doesn't really make sense, even for a comedy. I think Day Day's a fun character, but there was too much like plot elements going on. Like there was Uncle Elroy, who was introduced in that film, is about to lose his house. Then you had the whole element with the Cholo neighbors, and then you had Debo coming after Craig. It was too much going on to where it's my least favorite to watch, to be honest. And then like the last portion of the movie, Debo doesn't even really show up, and it sucks that that's Tiny Lister's last performances. Debo, and it's like they should have just stuck with Debo going after Craig. That's probably really what the plot should have been, just kept it simple. And I think that's why I like this one. It brings it back to that. Day Day and Craig have to pay rent to their neighbor because her son's basically in prison. He basically threatens to prison rape him, basically. We're just gonna be real. But, I think Craig and Day Day are much funnier in this. They keep the plot simple. It's one thing. It's like the first movie. I think sometimes, especially in comedy, when you overcomplicate the plot, you have too much going on. I think that was the other problem I had with Next Friday. It felt like sketches almost. Like there's bits of the film I thought are funny, but they were like it's like a comedy sketch. It didn't feel like a movie like this one did. But that's not all I can really say. It's a Friday movie, but it's fun if you like those kind of movies. I think this is a solid conclusion to that trilogy. So I had to include it. Number 10 is Equilibrium. I fucking love this movie. Equilibrium is one of those movies where fucking it's like one of those great dystopian films where basically all emotions gone, and John, who was an agent for this organization, eventually, because he doesn't take a pill that basically suppresses emotion, he gains emotion when one of his team are about to kill a dog. He ends up killing them, and that's where we get the gun kata, the gun fu, whatever you want to call it. It's so fucking great, man. It came out in that Matrix era, and I just think it got overlooked because it was a couple years after the Matrix, and it kind of just got seen as you're a Matrix clone. But I actually think the plot's really, really different. Besides, maybe some of the fight scenes, and even then, I don't think necessarily Matrix originated it. So it's it's an awesome little movie. I think one of Christian Bale's, but he's also gonna be in another list. He's gonna be probably towards the top. But yeah, I fucking love this movie. It's such an underrated one. Taye Diggs is a good bad guy, or one of the bad guys. It's not a lot of side characters, but it's just the world. It's one of those movies where you're more interested in the world of the movie than everything else. So that's my number 10. Number 9 is Austin Powers Goldmember. This is what continues the great franchise. It's the weakest, in my opinion, of the three, and that's just because how strong the first one is. And Spy Shagged Me is my favorite of the three. It's always has been. I've always felt like it was the funniest of them. And then it would be the second one, that original, because that original is just the simplicity of it. But this one is still really good. Like I said, the reason it is probably the weakest, I don't really like that they don't explain what happens to fucking Felicity from the second movie. They don't like the first one, because Vanessa doesn't come back because Elizabeth Hurley didn't come back. So they at least still explain what happened to her character, like she was a robot. It's though I've heard the theory that, because, if you remember the two Austins in the end of the second one, that this is the other Austin that didn't go with Felicity. But I don't know if I really, or at least the movie should have made that note, but whatever. I think it's still great. The prison scene where they see it's a heart, where Dr. Evil and Minnie sing "It's a Hard Life." I love that scene. I think it's just as funny as I think it still has that hilarity. And I'll say this: I don't like Beyonce. I've said that before, but I do think she's pretty good in this. And I think Goldmember's funny, and the fact that It's Mike Myers playing like four different roles. Yeah, he's Doctor Evil. He's Austin, Goldmember, Fat Bastard. So it's like holy shit, like the different characters he's in, and I even love the jokes in it, like the Godzilla joke. It's fucking great. Like it's I watch these in a row a lot of the time. Like I watched the first one, then I watched the second one, then I could watch this one. I think this is a fun little ending too. We get that. I'm fine with them being brothers. You could say it's a little hokey, but it's fine. It didn't really ruin the movie, and if especially if they keep it to where this is the last one, it's fine. And yeah, I love this movie. I even love the mini fight. So that's my number 9. Austin Powers Goldmember. Number 9, 8, sorry. Number 8 is fucking, I know it's gonna piss some people off, but I don't fucking care. Halloween Resurrection. I don't care. I have fun with this movie. There's elements in it I like. I don't like Busta Rhymes. I would, and you could say the way they keep Michael alive is done badly, and that some of the characters are bad. But I think there's great moments in it. Y'all know how I feel about H2O. I've never really been a fan of that one. I think this one fixes the problems I have with that movie. I think Michael's a lot better in it. I think the mask is better. I actually think the score is like one of the best scores in the franchise. Yeah, it is definitely the second weakest of the original 8, but I have fun with it. I watch it all the time. And that scene where Busta's going off on Michael, yeah, I hate that scene. So there's moments in it, but I think the kills are fun, and Katie Sackhoff should have been the main character. That would have been another switch. The main character is fucking boring as fuck. She has like no fucking emotion. She's just there. And that scene where she's trying to go off on Michael is very cringe. I know I'm more shitting on it almost, but I have fun with it. Like I said, there's some fun kills. That scene where he kills the redhead girl in the under the house is genuinely scary. The blue lighting and there's some things it has that it fixes my issues with H2O. As a better soundtrack, it doesn't feel as much like fucking, not even just Scream, like slashers of that era, of the late 90s. I feel like this one tones that back a bit and at least still feels like a Halloween film compared to H2O. But because I'm gonna say it, minus that last section with Michael and Laurie, I'm sorry, H2O is not good. I think Michael sucks in it. The score sucks. The fact that they straight up play music from Scream. There's straight up Scream music in there. Like, it's like, oh my god. It's boring. At least this film, there's stuff in it. Yeah, the final act sucks, especially with fucking Busta Rhymes and the Kung Fu trick-or-treat motherfucker. Yeah, that shit is cringe. But I still have fun with it, man. So that's my number 8. Number 7 is 28 Weeks Later. This movie is so fucking good. This is one of my favorite zombie films. This film I remember watching when I was really young, and holy shit, did it freak me the fuck out. How fucking fast those zombies were running with the rage virus. Because you had some stupid hippies. It's like, oh, we gotta free this monkey, and bam, because it was infected. And yeah, and I love that jump. Cillian Murphy's great in it. You have a fun little cast all around. I love the atmosphere. I love it, even though it's not fully an isolation film, but it has isolation aspects. The zombies are straight up scary in this. So they're one of the scariest zombies, man. When I watched this as a kid that first time, I was like, holy fuck. Like, holy shit. And like some of the characters, you when they died, you felt bad. And yeah, they didn't hold back on the violence. And the zombies, not even just like the way they acted, they looked scary. So yeah, I love this movie. I love the sequel too. 28 weeks later. So it kind of sucks we never got a third, which would be, 28 years later or something, like, or months later. You could have did something like months later or years later, like something like that would have been cool. But maybe in a good way, it's kind of fine it being just a duology. But yeah, it's such a great movie, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you're into zombie shit. That's my number 7. My number 6 is Reign of Fire. Reign of Fire, to me, is one of the best underrated dragon movies. It's a movie that a lot of people do not fucking talk about. No. I think actually no. Reign of Fire is my number 4. It's on my literally gonna be on the thumbnail. I'm fucking retarded. My number 6 is I have to make this on the fly now because I kind of forgot. But my number 6 is gonna be fuck. I'll put Harry Potter right here. Fuck it. Number 6 will be Harry Potter: Chamber of Secrets. I like this movie. I really think of the Harry Potters. It has that dark tone and is more serious. It doesn't feel like a kid's movie. And yeah, I'll still say this: Harry Potter is not my IP. But if I were to actively watch any of them, it would be this one and then Chamber. I like the tone. It doesn't feel like a kid's movie. I think the world is still well done. Um, and I love that basilisk design and the sword fight. I think that's why I like it, because it doesn't have that, like, it's just reliance on magic. And like I said, it's the darker of the movies next to the, I would probably say Prisoners probably the darker movie, but this one I think goes pretty dark, and it doesn't just feel like a straight up kids movie. And I like the stuff they do with Harry, and it's like I said, it's a darker tone compared to some of the other Harry Potters. So that's why I've always loved it. It just, even as a kid, even as like more I don't even know if I can say casual Harry Potter fan, because I like that IP. It just will never be like my IP like other IPs, but I'm fucking stupid. I remember what my number 6 was. Sorry, guys. So I guess they'll be like 6A. I guess I remember what my 6 was now. It was fucking Scorpion King. The Scorpion King. This movie, yeah, it's not as good as the first 2 Mummy movies, and some of the timeline doesn't really make sense. Like, in this one, they make Scorpion King like obviously a noble warrior because it's The Rock, so we have to make him a good guy. Even though in the Mummy movie, Mummy Returns, he's a fucking warlord. But it's like you can kind of accept it. Like maybe he at one point was power corrupts. That you can always just kind of go with that. Like power corrupted him, and eventually he just became a warlord. He started off noble, and I have fun with this movie. It's not a great movie. Yeah, there's a lot of movies like that in this year. There, like some where it's just dumb fun. Yeah, the plot doesn't really make sense, but you have fun with it. This was Rock's first real movie, and I would always say of his like original movies, this is probably my favorite one. This and like The Rundown, or maybe Walking Tall. I would probably throw that one in there too. But like he at least tried to play a character, and for his first movie, it wasn't bad. My only gripe is that there's a lot of scenes where you see him slice people and there's like no blood. I'll admit that like that's just a pet peeve of mine. But it's like whatever. I think the soundtrack's fun. I mean, I fucking Stand Alone by Godsmack. I mean, come on. There's nothing, you can't go wrong with that soundtrack. And like I said, it's a fun little movie. It knows what it is. You kind of can just watch it by itself. I tend to watch it like after the first 2, and I almost say it's a better Mummy 3 than what we end up getting with the Mummy 3. So, yeah, it's not objectively an amazing movie, but yeah. So that's my number 6. My number 5 is Signs. This movie is M. Night's best movie. I love Mel Gibson. I think he had good kid characters. It's an interesting take on aliens. The only negative, is the whole they're their weakness is water, but they go to a planet that's literally majority water. But yeah, that that's retarded. But I could overlook that. I mean, the performances straight up. I love that. Like, it's not a lot of characters. Like, there's like the one scene where they go to town, but it's relatively just Gas. Mel and his family. I love, like, he's a former preacher, how he gave up, but then all this alien invasion stuff started happening. And I love the scene in the cornfield. It's creepy. Like, I think it's genuinely well made. I love the tension. It's very much a lot of tension, and I think that's what it works. And it's unfortunate M. Night really kind of lost. I think, I've said this a lot. It's because he got so caught up in the whole twist thing. Because this movie, there's no real twist. Not really. Like, there are aliens. It wasn't like there's revealed there's no aliens. Right? Hold on. I'm filming. Yeah, I just love the character work, if anything. The alien designs or whatever, it's simple. They're not anything like they're kind of your just regular kind of gray looking aliens. But it's fine. That scene where he has the knife under the table of the door, and then you see the reflection of the aliens. I'll admit that's fucking well done. I love that shit. So, but yeah, that's really all I can say. It's a great one. It's M. Night, to me, is his best movie. I definitely recommend it if you have not seen it. M. Night at his best. So at his peak, in my opinion. So, Signs. Number 5. Number 4 is Reign of Fire. Reign of Fire is such an underrated dragon movie. The fact that it kind of combines post-apocalyptic and dragons is insane. Because you have just young, Christian Bale, as a kid, his mom works as a mine. They end up releasing a dragon, and it just all goes to shit. The mine ends up getting destroyed. His mom ends up dying. And then, dragons are now released in the world and basically start destroying everything. And overall, it just ends up... The fact that it combines post-apocalyptic and... It's my favorite dragon movie. It is so good. The effects still hold up. The fact that I remember seeing this as a kid and just being amazed. Because I really love dragons. And I've always felt like up until that point, we didn't really have a lot of... There were dragon movies, but not of that scale. Matthew McConaughey's in this movie. Like, the casting alone is amazing. Because he's, comes from the American side. And that scene where you first see a dragon is so in the mine. Yeah, dude. Or even the scene when the dragon chases the family is crazy. And I love even the little scene where he's training, like, basically doing a play, but the play is Empire Strikes Back, for kids, because obviously entertainment's gone, so but they're still trying, and like I just always love that scene, partially at the time I was a Star Wars fan. But yeah, it's just such a... Excuse me, sorry about that. It was a fucking great movie. It just came out at the right time, and I hate that it didn't do great. I wish it was talked about more. That's one of those I do think I would have loved. I wouldn't have minded a sequel either. Like, obviously even with different characters. But this was such a good movie. Great Christian Bale movie. Pre-Batman, Nolan era. I love this movie. So, definitely recommend it. That's my number 4. My number 3, Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. This is my favorite of the trilogy. I love the continuation. The Battle of Helm's Deep is such an iconic... I always love that sequence. Introduction of more characters. Like I said, I'm a Lord of the Rings casual, but watching the Two Towers of the 3 has always been my favorite. Gandalf, I love his introduction back into the plot. It's just such a great movie. So that's all I can really say. I'm gonna eventually review the Lord of the Rings movies. I want to do them justice, so I've not done them yet. And I also just don't know how long, because those could be long as fucking. Because I would be doing the extended edition. So yeah, but yeah, man, Helm's Deep. Yeah, sets the tone, and here we go, man. Yeah, King Theoden is great. Like I just love that movie. That's all I can really say. So that's my number three. My number two. This movie is one of the most underrated werewolf movies ever. Dog Soldiers. And the fact that this wasn't in theaters, it was on fucking Sci-Fi Channel. It's kind of a crime. I kind of wish this was released in theaters, or if it was, it may have been a small release. This should have been a major release. More people need to know about this movie. It has that like similar, like I love isolation horror. This small group war, team in the woods. Great characters, great actors. Small actors but great. And this take on werewolves is awesome. I love the werewolf design, the horror. The werewolves are fucking monsters in this movie. I watched this movie a couple of months ago, and it's still so fucking good. It's dark, but it is good. Because you like this team, and then obviously they all like fucking Wells, man. Fucking gets his chest. There's just portions of the movie his fucking intestines are just hanging out. Yeah. They don't hold back on the gore, but great character work. It reminds me of Predator in that sense, like the team camaraderie. Like you feel like they've actually worked together. So yeah, it's so good, man. I wish this one was like a major release because more people needed to see it, because this to me is up there with like American Werewolf in London and The Howling, and I probably a little bit in that sense I probably like this a little bit better. I would still say American Werewolf in London is probably still the best werewolf movie. Just that transformation scene, it's like almost can't be topped. But this movie is great. The werewolf designs is great. The werewolves are a legit threat. I like 30 Days a Night. That's another reason I kind of like a movie like that. Is that has that like, this came out first. It has that rawness. Like this is a raw look at werewolves, and that's what this is, and I love it. So I had to put it on the list as number two. I mean, I had to put it up there. But of course, number one is Spider-Man. I mean, that movie, I remember being a kid, that dominated that year. Like the marketing movie was everywhere. I mean, at the time I was a big Spider-Man fan, so I was excited. And man, when that came out, it was a monster. It was like something really special came out. I'm not gonna go too into it since I just recently did the Raimi verse or the Raimi films, so I don't want to go into it too long. But that first Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire was perfectly cast. He embodied Peter Parker and Spider-Man, in my opinion. That scene when he first put on the suit, that whole montage is so great. To see Spider-Man like just saving people like that whole movie, man. I think this is Kirsten Dunst at her best. I think of the three, she is easily the best in this one. It captures Peter Parker's life perfectly. When he first gets his powers is great. I think James Franco was Harry was perfectly cast, and then obviously creme of the creme, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. He is up there to me in terms of performance. I'm gonna say I think he's up there with Ledger's Joker. He was so fucking good. Especially the scenes when he's like talking to himself, like, like the evil version of himself, convincing him, like that scene when he realizes Parker's Spider-Man, dude. And then he attacks Aunt May. Aunt May is perfectly cast. Uncle Ben's death is so tragic. That is so well. I mean, the iconic with great power comes great. I mean, that whole movie dominated that year. It was like kind of like comparable to like when Batman '89 came out. Like it took over that year in terms of movies. Like when you to this day, like if you're gonna be real, when you think 2002 movies, this is like the number one. Like for most people, it's gonna be this one. I mean, it may not be your number one movie on like like your favorite list, but in terms of like if you have to be objective, like the number one film that we all instantly think of from 2002, this movie. It was such a big the fact like this was the first Spider-Man is like I love Batman, but he Spider-Man is more popular in that sense. This was the first live action Spider-Man, and the fact we saw a Spider-Man suit that was well done at that time, yeah, dude, that Spider-Man suit is so iconic. That Raimi suit, so fucking iconic. It that that final act, that final fight, I love that. I love everything about this movie. I mean, even the scene in when he's fucking wrestling Bonesaw. Bonesaw's like everyone knows that Bonesaw's ready scene. Bonesaw's ready. Like everyone remembers that fucking scene. Everyone knows that like even that scene. That's not him in a him as Spider Man. You know, he just got his powers. It's like one of the best examples of a great origin story too. I mean, the scene when he trains for his powers. So yeah, this Batman Begins, and I know some people may not like it, but Man of Steel. Those are like the three I think of. Probably, oh, Superman 78 too. We got to probably throw that in there. Like both of those movies are like this is how you do a comic book origin story. This movie obviously used a lot of the template from the 78 Superman film. It's there, and it makes sense. Very simple origin story. You have that start, and then you have that moment when you realize he has powers, and then yeah, that's what this. But this is definitely one would use as a great example of a Superman origin film. Is this one? So, but yeah, guys, 2002 was fun. I knew it was good. I can't wait to do this one because 2002 was just such a big year. I can't wait for 2003. Probably Underworld is probably gonna be number two because my number one is gonna be Kill Bill Volume 1. That first Kill Bill, Tarantino really brought it with that movie. I love Volume 1. I mean, I love Volume 2 too, but Volume 1 just such an interesting take on an action film and the whole working backwards thing because it starts present, but then he kind of goes into because there's that opening fight scene is technically in the present. After everything had already happened. But then it goes back a bit. I love it. But Underworld's going to be on there. Final Destination 3 was 2003. There were some pretty good movies. I mean, obviously, Return of the King. So there's some good ones in 2003. So I think Friday vs. Jason. I know some people don't like that movie. Fuck it. It's going to be on the list. I don't know what number to write a second, but that'll be on the list for sure. So I'll be working on that throughout the week. And I'll try to make sure to do that on Monday next week so I can go back to a consistent at least. So, but anyway, tomorrow I'm going to be doing my Bond pitch, which I cannot wait to do just because Bond is such a slam dunk. It really is. And it's sad that they can't get it. I mean, look what happened with No Time to Die. Like, how the fuck you come up with that? Especially when you had some good movies with Spectre and Skyfall came up first, but Skyfall and Spectre. The last two, like, yeah, Quantum of Solace wasn't good, but yeah, Casino Royale. But then, yeah, then you had Spectre, Skyfall and Spectre. If you had just kept the pace going with a decent last movie, but clearly No Time to Die wasn't meant to be made. So I'm going to come up with a better Bond because it's so simple. Go back to its roots. I'll give a hint there. We're going back to the roots. I think, and I will be honest, I'm not the only one who said this. I've seen a lot of people say it. Bond should go back in the 60s, and I think that's kind of what I'm going to go for. I just think it kind of works better. I will have a little bit of that up. I do like some of the action, like the chase scenes. I do want some great chase scenes, and you need a good villain. I'll give a spoiler. Everyone wants him as Bond, and Cavill should be Bond. I think he looks like him. If you see No Man from Uncle, you like, dude, he looks like him. So. But that's a hint of what I'm going to go with Bond for my pitch. But yeah, I just think he's such an easy character to do. And once again, they just Hollywood. I mean, another one I'm going to do this week, Expendables. It's like, how do you fuck that up? That's just dumb action. You can't even get that right. So, but anyway, I don't want to go too into that. So, but yeah, I had fun doing the 2002. I love doing this series, man. I'm going to be honest. I just like, my Mondays knowing, okay, I don't have to roast anything. I just like talking about like a bunch of movies I like from a year. Because like I said, I've been wanting to do this series for a long time, but it's like fuck it. Now we're in 2002 and going into 2003. So the 2000s, I think the 2000s are pretty good. I think it's when we get towards like the latter half of the 2010s is where it's like, ooh, it gets body. But we're not there. So 2000, because I think the early 2000s there are some good stuff. I know everyone likes to just say 80s and 90s, but there is some good shit in the 2000s. I think so. Anyway, I'm gonna cheers and talk to y'all